Okay. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just making sure all this works. That's the one we want. Yep. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Justin slash Razz, and we're gonna do some Photoshop in Adobe Suite stuff. I'm just on the general support side of everything, so I'm just trying to make sure everything is working and that we're all good. Um, yeah. So, for those who don't know, just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a audio and visual media editor and producer. I work out of New Orleans. That is the streetcars, if anyone of you can hear them. Um, and basically, um, due to quota and such issues, I've moved back from to New Orleans. Uh, I met the people willingly rejected in Lafayette when I worked there as the technical director of the Acadiana Center for the Arts. And now I do different things like if you see the animation in the bottom left hand of your screen, we're going to actually make that. That's what my tutorial is about. And is also the main graphic on the website. Um, so yeah, so I'm just gonna walk everyone through basically what I did and all the things. To do what I did to make this, you're gonna need Adobe Illustrator, After Effects, and Photoshop. And basically this is just to make a running GIF. Like I said, that's what it is in the bottom left. If you want to follow me or anything to keep up with me and myself, uh, that Instagram is right next to my uh, webcam. So yeah, let's do this. We're gonna start off in Illustrator. Um, Basically, what I did with this, for those who don't know, and if you've been for some reason just tuning in, every artist who's put something up, the entire stream has had the logo up, and so this is just my personal interpretation of our logo here. I split it up into 4 different layers. Um, Started off with something very simple. You use the rectangle tool right here, which is M, the shortcut key. Um, and I'm just going to actually just walk us through actually doing it. So you can create a layer, uh, and then after that, rectangle tool. Um, for this, well, when you first open up Illustrator, I guess I should start there. You can make a size and how big the document is. Um, when I was talking to Myron and making this for Willingly, he had given me like some amount of dimensions, some dimensions, and I just kind of went with it from there. Um, or you can even like end up changing your document anyway. In preferences and document setups up here. There's a lot of cool things with Adobe Suite. So then from there, uh, I had used the rectangle tool to just create a box about that size, um, create its own layer, and then over here you get to select the fill and the stroke, which then also these same settings are on the right over here where my mouse is. And so I think for this box, if I remember, I'll unlock it real quick. Uh, this box, I set as a 6 6-point stroke, and then on the actual fill itself, uh, for the box, what I did was I actually went into the fill and double clicked. And then down here, under your swatches, which is just like a really useful tool to have out at all times. Where did my swatches go? Sorry, I'm going in between two different windows. Things are just deciding to open up. Under swatches right here, which you can go look them up over here. I actually took this one, this green, blue, and then I actually went into it and made a copy of it, which you can duplicate with Command D or Control C, and then I made this black looking fill to kind of recreate some of the insides. And then I also took, you can also with the fill take add like a gradient, and what a gradient is just like a transition between different points in different colors. So if you look at the gradient that I have actually for, and which is also the gradient that ends up being used for the inside of this as well. And so it's just using fills and strokes really to do that. And then what I did to cut out this little part in the box, oh, well, I guess I should say how I made the circles as well. The way you make the circles is just using holding the rectangle tool over here and going to the ellipse tool, and holding and making a circle with the ellipse tool. Where am I? There we go. Making a circle with the ellipse tool. Apparently I can't make a circle with the ellipse tool. So we're gonna try something else. Oh, my thing was not thing. But to make a circle with the ellipse tool, you hold it down and then you hold down Shift, which keeps everything proportional, and then you can make a perfect circle. And I did that, like I said, mess with the stroke, mess with the fill to create this one, and then also with this one, this circle as well. And then what I did from there was I made this circle on the right here not have a stroke, and so that's another thing you can do, and just have a fill. And then the last thing I ended up doing besides the type, which this type is easy, Gregarian, you just put in the character, bolded italic, 77-point font, and just placed it on its own thing using the text tool right here. And then from there, what I did was to make that little incision on this actual box itself, on the path, I took the scissors tool, which is under the eraser tool, which is right here, scissors tool, which is the shortcut is C. C, and just cut little points. So cut right there, which is like, oh, this creates an endpoint, and then cut another spot. That makes an endpoint. And then what I did was select the point between those, delete that, and now you have another little space. So I just created that, and then that's what you end up basically with the logo at the end. And that's how you just create that really easy in Illustrator. It was actually relatively fast. It was a lot of just tweaking and a lot of just moving different things. And then from there, what I did with Illustrator is then, which I'll show next, is you can save that as Illustrator. And the really cool thing with Adobe products and the Adobe Suite is it's really easy to transfer over things. And then from there, I used After Effects and transferred over those. So next, I'll bring up After Effects, which is a really great use for animations and video editing. Lots of animations, compositing, logo animations, and that type of stuff. Illustrator, on the other hand, is usually mainly for logos, Um, like the big thing that's really cool is that on our for my thing is Photoshop plus Adobe Suite. Um, Photoshop is just really one product of Adobe, um, and it really is just about photo manipulation and pixel manipulation, um, while Illustrator is more about vector manipulation, which is more about moving things and logos. And these all have, you can do the same thing in a lot of them because they're all have expanded. Um, Ones are just better at other things. And it's just really weird to watch yourself, honestly. Just side note, really weird to watch yourself live stream. Um, so anyway, so we opened up After Effects, and what I did from there was when you first open up After Effects, you create a new composition, and what I did was I dragged in, and you can import, which is Command I or Control I on a Windows. And what I did was I then went to wherever my Illustrator project was, which is right here, which I just created in Illustrator. And then I opened it, and then what I did was import it as the composition itself. Usually when you first open Illustrator, it has it as, first open After Effects, it has it as footage. I opened it as a composition in layer size and it imported that. And the reason I did that was because I wanted the composition to stay with the individual layers that I created in Illustrator so that it's easier to manipulate an animation with animation, because that's what we're going to do next with After Effects. So you create the logo, and then what you can do is after creating that logo, you select the different layers on Illustrator. You copy and then you create and then you put that onto a new composition. The reason that you want to do that is because you don't because it'll kind of mess up the Illustrator. It's easier to work with in After Effects if it's on its own composition, and you don't want to mess with your originals, which is just kind of like I have found to be a very general rule of working in video and audio and any of that, because you always want to be able to go back and remess with things. So, like I said, you copy, paste over into Illustrator, um, whatever your file is. And so originally, like what I copied into Illustrator actually was a transparent file. So there wasn't anything in the background actually, like right here. Um, and so what I then did, what you then can do is for certain projects, like for the one with the logo animation, I actually didn't end up having a background and kept it transparent. But while I was working, I kind of needed a background just so I can see a little bit more. And then so from there, what I did after that was the big thing with animation is keyframes, and the way that keyframing works and what a keyframe is basically a point in movement. And so I can show you some keyframes actually. So I'm going to increase my timeline, which you can actually increase all the windows. I don't know if just general Adobe things, you can increase the different windows in Adobe by holding on to the bars, and then also you can reset them back to whatever you want by clicking the tabs up here. So looking at the timeline that we have, just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see a little bit more. We have keyframes, and basically what keyframes are positions in time. And so, for example, right now we're looking at the keyframe for the circle on the right. So I'm going to close out some. I want that. Close out that panel. Close that panel. Close out this panel. Close out some of these panels so you guys can at least see more of where everything is going. So we have this circle on the right here, so you can see it in the background. And what the points it's moving upon, which is these lines here, are a position and rotation. And these are marked by keyframes. And what a keyframe is a point in time in which it is recorded for a position or a number is recorded. And this is basically what the basis of all animation is about. Um, and so what you do in things like After Effects is, for example, what we did, which I am completely fine redeleting this, is so we started with the animation as it was, with like nothing going on, no rotations, no positions, no nothing. And then what I did was, I was like, oh, what I want to do next is, I was looking at this, I was like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool if, oh, I definitely did not want to go that far. My bad. I was here and I was like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool if we had this one, this circle by itself, which is the one on the right, kind of act like a ball, roll, and then come back. So I was like, okay, well, I want everything to start off screen. And so to do that in After Effects, you have to open up the position or transformation time, and you can either do that with just pressing P or actually going into the layers themselves and clicking down to position. And then I was like, okay, everything is broken up into a timeline or a segment in After Effects. So 0 is all the way at this end. For me creating a composition, I made my composition 30 seconds, which you can do when you first create the composition, or you can actually change at any time in the composition settings, project settings, or no, not the project settings. In the composition settings. And then this is where you have your actual duration. This is also where you would put your width, your height, how big you would want your actual animation to be, whether you would want it in 30 frames, 25 frames, 24 frames. These are all things that when you work with video are things you have to take into consideration. Because one good thing about working with things like this with motion design is that those things really don't matter. Because it's on the internet. So it's really about what you as the creator or artist wants to work with. I personally just went with 30 or 29.97 frames and just kept it as it was. And so what I did from there was, after creating my duration and I knew that I wanted to start off screen, I took my little ball, who is positioned here. I created a mark of where I would want it to end keyframe wise, which is right here. And the way you do that, usually this is turned off, the stopwatch. And so when you press the stopwatch on, it turns on keyframing. And so I set that there, and I was like, okay, I want it to end there. That's where I want my animation part to end. And I want it to start off the screen because I knew I just wanted to come on screen. And so I was like, okay, cool. And the moment you do that, and the important thing to keep in mind is where your timeline is set, where the head of your timeline is set, which is the player head of your timeline is set, which is right here. You want to know where that's set and keep that always in mind, because the moment you do that with keyframes, it automatically sets it here. So for example, if, oh, and as you can already see, it is animating. What this is called is interpolation. And basically it's a really awesome way that computers have come to make the world of animation easier, is by doing a lot of the work for people and putting in, oh, this is probably going to move from this area to this area right here. So like I was saying, one thing to keep in mind is with your player head is having that over a keyframe, because for example, if I move this now, I've completely moved that keyframe from it being there. So now when it does the animation, it's gonna go there and not where I want it to go. So we're gonna go all the way back. So I did all that. All I did was Command Z. And basically I used that as my basis and did that for the ball, which is this one right here. And it also works with rotation as well, which is these keyframes down here. And the important thing about animation is timing and spacing. And if any of you are really interested in animation, one book I would highly recommend, and this is recommended by all people who do animation, whether it's 2D, 3D, motion design, graphic design, any of these things is called Animator Survivor's Kit. It's basically the basis of all animation. And then there's and then understanding the rules of animation, the 12 rules of animation. And these are just all really helpful things to get into how to use animation and concepts and more like theories to how it works. So using those, I kind of was like, oh, okay, ball's gonna roll, take a second, and I have it slide into place. And then, like I said, I use that same concept really for then the left circle, who we can look at its position path. Like I said, to do that, you just click on it and press P. You can see the position path of that. I have start off screen completely, and then just come bounce in basically at the end, and then go into place. And one cool little thing that I added with that Myron and others had commented on was that it does a little squeak into place with a little rotation, and you can really like see that by the using the granite or gradient. And then from there, what I did after doing that one is I did the box itself because I really wanted the box just to kind of like slide in. So I had the box set by itself, position, regular, and I had it like go and then kind of like drag back to kind of like whiplash, which again, these are just things that are basic concept of animations that the more you watch animation, the more you consume animation type things, you start seeing them in just the world in general. And then also from there, besides just position, I also work with scale. And so scale, rotation, and position are really your big three components in animation that you're going to be using to really give your either objects, logos, animations character and make them feel alive, and also opacity. And so what I did was then have the scale of the box then right here go up. And then I was like, oh, that'd be really cool if it's scaled. And then on top of that, I was like, oh, you know, it'd be really funny is if the little type piece, which is the little lettering right here, was coming down from the top. Oh, nope. This is why you should lock things. Locking locking layers is very useful. So I had our little type here come down from the top, and it kind of like knocked down on the box, like, hey, let me in. And you know, just to give it a little bit more personality, a little bit more alive, and a little bit more willing and rejected. And so just adding that in and that little up and down, all that is just position. It's just a lot of keyframes and a lot of up, down, up, down. And so that's really the big thing with any professional thing you would see animation wise. You would probably just see tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of keyframes. And it's just little tweaks and little position tweaks and animation tweaks so that it does exactly what you want it to do and move exactly the way you want it to work. And then so from there, we just add all those elements together, and that's literally where we have our animation for Willing Rejected's website come from. I myself had originally added this little lettering at the end. We took that away, and with that, that's just, you know, adding here and there, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and it's really just playing around with the programs and Adobe and things like that. The big thing with these things is they're really powerful, really awesome, and it just takes time to learn them and just mess around with them. And then so from there, once we have our animation, some things that I did was once I had the keyframe set, I right-clicked them and added in, went to Keyframe Assistant on each and almost all of them. It went to Easy Ease, and all that Easy Ease does, it makes it a little bit more ease off and on, and the animation a little bit more smooth than jerky. So an example of that would be like the animations for the box the scale is really jerky. It's not really smooth, but all the rotations and the movement are kind of smooth relatively. Um, and then so from there, once that was done, I then went, okay, we're gonna to make a GIF, which people, if people don't know, is a photo file basically. You have to go into Photoshop from there. So we have our GIF. This entire time, I realized I never didn't do this, but you should be saving this entire time you're doing this. Saving is incredibly important. I literally was working yesterday and lost a lot of hours of work by not saving. And then so from After Effects, like I said, we save creating comps, and then you go to your render queue. Well, you go to your comp, whichever one you want to render. You press File, you export it. I do add to render queue, so it's in the file in the program itself. I'll put it to wherever you want it. The type of file you want is an MOV, however, and make sure it's a QuickTime MOV. You should only be QuickTime MOVs when you export it that way, but make sure it's a QuickTime MOV. The one thing I would say to keep in mind is if you want it to be transparent, like our animation is, you turn off the solid, you make sure that the alpha is on, and then onto output method or output module, you go to lossless, you click lossless under the files and options, and you want to go to lossless with alpha. And what alpha is just the transparent option for things, and that's also whatever you do whenever you work with PNGs, is you always want to export with alpha. So you export alpha into MOV, which we can actually just do right now. And I'm going to just output it there. It's fine. And then press render. And that's going to take a second. It's going to go through the render, go through everything. Then next, once it's done, you hear a little beep. Then we're going to go over to Photoshop from there. And then you open it up in Photoshop. You go to Photoshop, open MOV. Go open. Give it a second. There you go. Go to open. Find your file wherever it is. I don't remember where I put it. I do remember where I put it now. You find it. You open it. Open the movie. I've done this a couple times, as you've seen around down here. And so you'll get this, and it'll basically open up your comp. And what you want to do is you want to go to File. Then you want to go to Export. Save for Web. And then, just trying to see my time. Okay. I'm not doing horrible on time. Oh, but my computer's slow. This is gonna take a second. This is a legacy system, so you gotta give your computers a second sometimes with this version, this utility of Photoshop. We'll see if I'm even able to do it. Honestly, I don't know if my computer can take it. Got a lot of things open. All right, cool. All right, it came up. So I'll see that on your side. That's my question. I'm gonna hope you can. So a screen should come up. It says Save for Web, and over there you'll have presets of GIF, 128 dithered. You want that. You want to make sure your looping option is forever. Usually it's set for once by default, so you want that set to forever. And then you want to press save. Done. Save. You want to press save. I'm gonna press save. Yes. You want to press save and then save it however wherever you want it. Your GIF. You can also determine file size and image size there as well. You export it, as the GIF, and then you have it. Um, it's real easy, really simple. Um, it's just more going between all the different applications of Adobe Suite. And yeah, and then you have your final product, which I'm just gonna, bam. See, I'm the tech support guy. I do these things. You end up with whatever your animation is. So I think that's me. Um, that's my lesson of Adobe Suite. Um, and like I said, like this, I really learned in about, I looked up and did in about a day to 2 days. And really the biggest thing, the internet. The internet, great resource, guys. It was an awesome thing, awesome project. But yeah, um, I think that's it for me. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or want to connect with me in any way, I don't know which way to point because I'm trying to figure that out. But my Instagram is tech underscore hippie underscore Razz. Um, I should be on this in some way or fashion. I'm also just gonna be on in general the whole time because I am tech support still and helping everyone, and just want to say that everyone's dope. So yeah, I think that's the end of me. Cool. So yeah, move on to the next person. Tune in, support everyone, and yeah, we're gonna move on. I'm going to end this now. Bye.